What is going on, guys? Dork Gaming here, and what you're gonna see in the background is my two first games of Quick Steel, because it finally launched on console. God damn it, that took them forever. But I honestly don't know if this still exists on PC, to be honest with you. If it still exists on PC, then cool. If not, then, well, shit. I'm more or less making this video for no reason. Unless they bring it back, which I honestly doubt, but who cares, right? Let's get on now with numbers, shall we? Because you have two weapons in Quick Steel. You have your Haiku variant and your Nakana variant. Probably the most infamous of the two is the Nakana variant, and we'll get to that eventually, but for now, let's talk Haiku. The Haiku have 10 stars per clip, deal 35 damage per star, and have 50% extra damage on headshots, which means on a headshot you deal 52 damage. 52.5, but it rounds down to 52. They have about 1.5 to 2 seconds of reload, but their ammo pool is infinite. They also have about 5 meters per second of travel time or flight speed, and draw at 0.5 seconds. The draw time will be important later on, but for now that's all you need to know about the Haiku. They're pretty basic, but not necessarily overpowered. They have the draw time, they also have the flight, and they also have their magazine size. They do have infinite ammo, however, which kind of negates the magazine size. Now, in terms of DPS and shots or stars to kill, you have to use 3 Haiku to kill 1 Tenno, or 2 Haiku with 2 headshots. But that is if they're at full 100 health, and most of the time your encounters will be with a Tenno that has less than 100 of their 100 health. In most occasions, I believe your average requirement of Haiku to kill an enemy will be either 1 or 2 Haiku. 1 if it's a headshot or if they're heavily wounded, or 2 if you are God and you get 2 headshots in a row, or if they're slightly wounded and you only need to use 2 of your Haiku. In overall, I find the Haiku are really useful, but as a standalone weapon, they're not that great. Their travel time truly does negate their damage, although they're slightly faster than, say, the snowballs from the snowball event. They still do not keep up with the speed of a Tenno, which kind of negates their usability. But that's more or less it about the Haiku variant. Let's talk about a weapon that is probably more infamous to you who have played Quick Steel, the Nakana variant, which deals 100 damage on all strikes except special strikes. That's a lot of damage, because 100 damage means it can one-shot any Tenno, even with full health. Its range is kind of okay, but I mean, it's still 100 damage, which it devastates anyone. It can execute finishers, which I find kind of okay. It's a negative when you consider that finishers take forever, and thus you are really just out in the open, just waiting for someone to literally slam a Nakana in your ass, or slide a Haiku through your throat or your skull. There's a delay between the strikes. It's about 3 seconds, not exactly 3 seconds. The slam range is huge at 2 to 2.5 meters, and slams also occur on every first strike. They cannot be your main weapon, so you can only do quick attacks with the Nakana, but it's whatever. I mean, whatever. The first attack, which is a slam, it is basically as if you were doing a slam attack. It also propels you forward about 1 to 1.5 meters. It depends, of course, whether or not you get knocked down during the slam and yada yada yada. What you should know is that it also propels you forward, so if you're dueling with some guy, keep that in mind. Slams also deal 1 to 5 damage per strike outside of direct hits, which is whatever. They also have a holster of 1.5 seconds, which can leave you out in the open for quite a bit of time if you try and holster your Nikana and then you try and strike again. They have kind of a weird way of calculating damage with special strikes. They actually deal minus 50% damage. So your slide attacks, your wall attacks, your aerial dash attacks, all of those will deal 50 damage instead of the 100 damage that the rest of your attacks will do. And by the way, your slam attacks and your normal, quote-unquote normal, if you do 2 strikes at once, your second strike will be a slash and not a slam. That will also do 100 damage, however, so it doesn't knock down, but whatever. Again, special attacks do 50% less damage at 50 instead of 100 damage. It does matter when it comes to killing enemies. They can or cannot survive your strikes, so keep that in mind. Now, let's get on with how should you use these weapons. Because if you use the Nikana alone, or if you use your Haiku alone, you're not gonna find yourself beating a lot of people in Quick Steel. Because Quick Steel is all about reaction time. It's really all about reaction time. It's about that reaction time and pretty much about parkour. If you're not in mid-air and, doing bullet jumps, aim glides, all sorts of special movements, you're not gonna find yourself to really be in a competitive sort of position with other players. And you will notice that you'll be getting killed a lot by other players if you're not trying to really be mobile. Now, your weapons, they do a lot of damage, but they're also held back by the fact that you have draw and holster time on the weapons respectively. The Haiku need to draw, and that takes half a second. The Nikana needs to holster, and that takes 1.5 seconds. That's 2 seconds worth of time that you could, in other words, spend basically being a sitting duck, because you can't attack in those 2 seconds. So, how should you initiate your strikes against other Tenno? Or at least, how should you attempt to in a more effective manner than most? You should first be airborne and initiate a standard slam, which means that you look down on the ground and you slam your Nikana in the ground. Oh, something that I forgot to say about the slams, they can hit underneath you. They have this semi-hemispherical type of strike. So even if the target's underneath you, it can still knock them down and deal that 1 to 5 damage, so keep that in mind. So you do a normal slam to knock down your opponent. If you think you're close enough to the point where you can actually follow up with a Nikana strike, do it. Your Nikana will decimate your opponent because it deals 100 damage. If you're close enough, the instant draw time, or almost instant draw time, there's some time between you starting the attack and the point where the attack actually connects to the target, but most of the time you won't really notice it because of the fast-paced mode. And once you do the slam attack, if you can follow up with an Akana strike, do it, because you will one-shot the enemy. If you cannot, however, shoot them with your haiku and try to aim for the head. The head is kind of difficult to hit because most Tenno don't have a humongous head like a Corpus crewman, but you can still get away with a couple of headshots. That being said, quick tip, guys. Try and use a Tenno that has a pretty small hitbox, which is why I mostly use Excalibur. He has an average size hitbox. Atlas. But yeah, if you can follow up with the Kana strike, as I previously said, do it. If you can't, shoot your haiku or throw them. I mean, they're stars, but anyway. So that's more or less it. If you can be mobile, if you can initiate slam attacks a lot of the time, you will find yourself winning a lot of quick steel matches. That being said, the match is really fast paced, and that should be more or less a reason for you to always be on guard. Look behind you a lot, look beneath you, look above you, you know, just keep your eyes peeled, people. It's not just grunts, it's not Grenier who just sit there and walk. People bullet jump and dash and, you know, do a lot of things, so you need to keep your eyes peeled. They're gonna be moving like hell of a fast. So let's get on to my review about the mode. How do I feel about Quick Steel? Honestly, it's fun. I can't say that it's not fun. It's very much so fun. It's definitely more fun than the Conclave mode itself, because yeah, you've got all of these weapons, not necessarily all of them are balanced, and things get really weird, and it just, yeah, whatever. Let's go back to the freaking mode. I honestly find that the Nakana and Haiku are pretty balanced. Your haiku are pretty good. You throw them at about 1.5 haiku per second. I forgot to mention that, but you probably will get to feel the rhythm of the throw anyway. So I don't think that is highly necessary to say. But okay, well, truth be told, I do feel that the Nakana is slightly overpowered, but not because of the damage, because that 100 damage is dealt on a very small cone. Like, you really literally need to hit your opponent for you to deal 100 damage. However, that 2 to 2.5 meter AoE that guarantees a knockdown is too much. Even if you have a really quick recovery from the knockdown, that does not mean that a 2.5 meter radius that guarantees a knockdown is okay. That's a lot. So maybe that should be toned down a little bit. You know, maybe just make it 2 meters. You know, that'd be good. 1.5 to 2 meters. That'd be okay with me. I feel like the mode itself does need a lot of skill, but it also isn't that deadly to newer people, and it can bring some players to Conclave. In overall, I find that the mode is pretty enjoyable and worth playing if you find it to be that much fun. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. And if you enjoyed it that much, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.